Madeline, welcome to my couch and welcome to Beyond the Name. I'm very excited to have you here. How far did you travel?
Oh, an hour and 20.
An hour and 20. Thank you. Let's keep it real today on the potty. I don't think there's any other way with me or you. I'm a hairdresser, you're a hairdresser, and just like you, I get very excited to talk. Sometimes I ramble on and go on different paths. I think it's a bit of a hairdressing trait. So I have created a list of questions with Alicia to keep us on track. And this podcast is all about being a lot more intentional. I just told you why we were off the live recording that on my first podcast, I just sort of come on here and winged it a little bit. And this podcast is super intentional, finding out and sharing with the community things that people want to hear, people can relate to, and having an insight into what it looks like to be you. So I know you personally. We've built a bit of a relationship, or I'm going to say a really cool relationship over the last few years. I was going to say probably in the last 12 months.
I think we have very similar businesses and
Yeah.
set up, so we're able to confide in each other.
Absolutely, which has been really cool to meet another person in the industry and have that connection. Really cool to finally meet you at my podcast rebrand a couple of weeks ago. It felt like I've known you forever, right?
Yeah.
Felt very easy. Real full circle moment. Welcome to Beyond the Name with me, Kasey Lee. This is a podcast for business owners presented by a multi-business owner. This podcast is all about having real conversations with business owners and people in power, answering questions and offering advice you never knew you needed. Beyond the Name connects you to the people behind the brand you see every day, the decisions you didn't know you needed to make. If you are sick of second-guessing your growth and are ready to understand how experienced business owners actually think, then this is the podcast for you. For anybody who doesn't know you, know your brand, tell us, who are you?
So I'm Madeline. I am the owner of Blonde Army, which is our 10th year this year in business. I'm also a mum. I have 2 young children, and yeah.
Amazing. And what's Blonde Army for everybody that doesn't know?
So we are a blonde only salon. So I feel like we're not even blonde specialists. We are just a blonde salon. So we only cater to blonde clients. We don't offer any standalone types of services to clients that aren't our existing blonde clients. So it makes it a very niche and unique type of business setup.
Can't wait to dive into that a little bit more today. Having a similar concept and having to tweak some of that in the last 18 months. So I'm really excited to have this chat. And just for everybody else listening at home, I think it's going to be a really cool conversation to have today about
how you niches. I think it's a really big topic of conversation. Not always positive either. I feel like I've had a lot of backlash over the years about it, online especially. So I think,
Before we dive in too much, it's really funny because I'm not even sure whether I should share this and who's listening, but
say it.
Yeah. So recently I had someone come to me, I'm not going to name names, and say that their relative was very, very angry at me that I no longer did brunettes from transitioning from home salon to whatever it was. I'm going to be very careful how
you
say this. And that this person had built a vendetta, garage, but they're so triggered by my name that I only do blondes, which is just, I just thought I'd share that before we get into it. So, that was really interesting recently to find that out, that someone had this
vendetta against you.
Like,
I'm sure
8 years built up of this person who hates me to her core because I no longer offer brunette. So that's really strange. Did you always think that you were the kind of person who would run a business?
I had no interest in having a business. I'm come from a hairdresser family, so I grew up in a salon and watched my mum work for $20 an hour, 6 p.m. every Saturday. I was like, this is not for me. And I actually only fell into hairdressing in my late teens, in 19, 20 years old, because I had all these tattoos and all I did is talk, and I worked in a conservative office, and they're like, you can't, you have to cover up. And I was like, oh, what job can I do?
Yeah.
So it was hairdressing. But I took a very different path to what my mum did, knowing that I wanted to do more high-end luxury types of services. But I never wanted a salon. I still sometimes think, what have I done?
I know, we're in each other's inbox often. I was saying earlier on my podcast that I like to reference just to burning it all to the ground.
Right?
Not just, I'm just going to close my doors and stop
That's how it
working. I'll just
feels.
burn the fucking mother thing to the ground.
I mean, I don't know many business owners that don't
Yeah, I feel
run
that way.
successful businesses and have that opinion because it's hard.
Mm.
There's no, especially in our position where we're trying to build an empire over a certain niche, it's hard to find people that align with our values as well.
Especially, we've got social media. We've got, which I'm actually doing a podcast later on today with just me talking about the difficulties of having staff leave and having a social media platform, which we've spoken about a little bit. And then we've also got the industry that's changed dramatically in the last 2 years, I'd say, where everybody just wants to be self-employed, that it's so easy. You can just go rent a chair and open up a
Yeah,
business
I've actually done that as
and
well.
all of those things.
I freelanced.
Yeah.
So at my mum's salon before I started Blonde Army,
And
and
probably before it was even a thing.
it wasn't a thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it wasn't sustainable. I just think people freelancing, it's great at some point in your life, but the way things are set up here, I don't think it's sustainable for young people to start freelancing
No.
before they've had children, before,
Yeah.
like there's so many things that come with it. I just think people see money and
Yeah.
it's not.
And
We're not-
freedom.
Yeah, and it's not.
And that's why,
It's
like,
worse if
know,
you do it, but
some people are excelling in it, but more often than not, either people are going back, I'm seeing a change where people are starting to go back and be employed, or they're leaving the industry.
Well, and I think as well, what I offer my employees now compared to what I did 6 or 7 years ago are so miles apart.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
There's
There's no minimum wage. There's
Oh,
no slugging it.
I just feel like people are crazy not to want to work in a salon like ours,
Mm.
where they get amazing money, they have so much opportunity.
Education,
Yeah.
support.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you. Can you dive a bit deeper into what your biggest influences were to start your business? At what
Yeah.
point did you think, okay,
I
this
feel
is
funny talking about this because I feel like your story would be very similar. Obviously, we're quite far apart in Melbourne from each other, so I feel like we haven't really affected each
No,
other's
at all.
business, because
No.
we're an hour away. But look, I at the time was doing something no one else was doing. And of course, it was skill, was also personality. There's a whole range of things. But I was using Instagram in 2015 and 2016 to advertise, and I managed to build a whole clientele.
Yeah, I think I was still very much on Facebook. I don't think I quite hit Instagram.
I
then
was
yet.
like, my hashtags
the
were like Olaplex Melbourne. and then
Yeah,
I'd have
yeah.
a new client be like, I found you through this hashtag. Like, it was very easy.
Yeah.
And it happened. And that's how I originally grew. And I was doing blondes different. I was doing root softens and root stretches and all this stuff that most salons weren't doing yet. So I felt like I had this little secret that no one knew.
Which you
And
did.
Yeah, and that's how I built my business. And I was freelancing and I just got so busy. I decided.
So was this freelancing through Mum's studio?
Yeah, I just rented a chair off
Yeah.
my mum in her salon, which was on High Street as well.
In
Northcote,
Northcote?
yeah. And basically within 6 months I was fully booked, like 45-hour weeks. I was making amazing money, but it wasn't sustainable. I couldn't work like that. I wanted to get married and have children. I was like, how am I going to do all that? I wanted to buy a house. I couldn't because I was a sole trader. Like, it was so impossible, difficult. So I ended up hiring staff and teaching them my techniques.
Yeah.
And that's sort of
And it
what
was a little bit easier back then. There was a lot
Do you
more
know
staff
what?
that
It
were
was
looking
always
for
been
jobs.
hard.
Okay.
I feel like even back then, like, it's definitely hard now,
Yeah.
but I don't. Personally, I haven't seen the difference between then and now. I
Okay.
struggled so much then to
Yeah.
find staff, and I struggle now.
Okay.
So for me, I feel like it's maybe even a bit easier now because I have a larger platform.
Yeah, of
I'm more
course.
well known.
A
Whereas
brand.
back then, everyone's like, "What do you mean you're in the 2 blogs?"
Yeah.
Whereas now it's kind of
Do you feel I've had people
commercialised.
like really amazing hairdressers leave me because they're like, I need to
Yeah.
go like apprentices and stuff. Early days I really struggled with before I was doing that, like, because I don't do guys either.
Yeah.
And just be like, I feel like I'm limited here.
Yeah,
And it's broken my heart.
Definitely
Yeah.
apprentices. But I feel like nowadays as well, I'm really honest. I'm like, we don't do this, we don't do
Mm.
that. This is what you're going to learn. And now I provide extra education
Yes,
for the
right.
things that we don't learn
Yeah.
because it's not really fair for the apprentices and I want to keep them. But yeah, definitely over the years, even how we train apprentices now is very different to what it was 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, I've been investing a lot. into
Yeah,
my team
we have
recently.
to. We
Yeah.
have to be able to offer more than what we used to.
Yeah.
Otherwise we just won't keep staff.
Obviously, staffing concerns we've touched on,
Mhm.
which we'll come back to later. But what are some of your biggest fears when you were letting go of your bread and butter services and like your brunette root touch-ups, your little grey haired ladies?
I actually never did that.
Yeah.
So I went from working 7 years at Bieber, and I focused when I finished my apprenticeship, which took me 5 years to do. I couldn't complete because I just did
I love
not want to
that.
go to school. Once I had already built a blonde clientele
Yeah.
because I was focused on color. So I loved my bosses and I still do. And so I started working on the side. They knew about it because I didn't want to take any clients
Yep.
from there. I wanted to remain respectful. I understood it was their business. I'm not going to try and use them to build myself. So I started working on the side while I was working full time. And from the moment I started working on the side, I only accepted blonde clients.
Yeah, cool.
So I never had to transition. I've always just been
So what about
blonde.
recently? I've connected to a
Yeah.
few people at some of my events through Colour Brands.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you felt it over your side, but we've definitely felt it here through my business, through my husband's business, a lot of my clients that I business coach, and just a ripple effect across every business owner with the semi-recession that we've been in. And it's a bit scary that there's going to be more interest rate rises. Did you feel that pressure there? Because
Yeah, in a different way, I guess. We're in a city, so I feel like the demographic definitely is
Yeah.
different. But for us, I've always had 4 or 5 senior staff and everyone's fully booked every day, weeks or months in advance. What I did notice, which was really scary, is having cancellations and
Yeah.
not being able to fill them.
Yeah,
So I've
that's
always,
similar to what I
I've
went
always
through.
just put a post up and then bang, bang,
Snapchat.
bang. Now it's a bit more hustling I'm having to do, which has actually created a lot of work for me because now I feel like I'm like constantly checking, making sure that, all the appointments are filled. And
Yeah.
I'm not every day able to get every appointment filled.
Yeah.
So I've had to do a lot of work within me because it used to
I was
freak
going to say
me
that was a
out.
huge mindset shift
You
for
know?
me. Gaps. I
Yeah,
was
gaps.
like,
Because
not used to it.
Yep. So, but I've actually come around to it now, and it's actually really, I don't mind having gaps now
Yeah.
because other things get done. I
Yeah.
had the girls that had a gap. 2 of the girls had 2 gaps last week, and like they were practicing different techniques on a
Yeah.
mannequin and were able to do things. So, and they're not feeling as burnt out because it's not like go, go, go.
Yeah.
They're actually, I've got a cancellation.
That was a
Let's do this.
huge, huge,
But
huge
I
mindset shift for me.
I was like, oh my God, I think at that point I was like, I'm going to have to close the business.
Yeah. Me too.
Like, am I nuts? I had like 1 or 2 cancellations.
I was crashing out bad too
Yeah,
before.
freaking.
Like I'd be out for dinner on Friday night, someone would call in sick the Saturday, I'd crash out, I'd be fucked for the whole night. As now I'm just like,
I know. I think it's more normal to have cancellations,
Yeah.
and I have to continuously remind myself when I worked at Bieber, there was a lot of days where some of us would have no clients.
absolutely.
Yeah, what I was experiencing in business, how my business ran wasn't the normal. I know it was, most people didn't have
Yeah.
that problem. And most people didn't have,
Yeah,
we're
the
booked
books
out
like
all the
that,
time.
yeah.
So I just realized that it was more common. It's okay to have
Yeah.
cancellations.
It was a
and
huge thing for me to
But, yeah,
navigate through. as
mentally,
well. I felt
I
like
feel
a
it.
failure.
Yeah.
Felt like an imposter. I was like, all of these things. What's happening? I was
100%.
used to working this certain way, and I had to pivot.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon. But we've just got to, push along.
I think it's our new normal.
Continue. It is our new normal.
Was there a specific moment or milestone that you can recall realizing that having an exclusive blonde niche was the right call?
Yeah, day dot. Like single-handedly, I tell everyone I teach to niche down because I just think you, as a niche type of service, you can offer something so much more.
Yeah.
And as you would in your salon, we get people from all over Victoria that have, they're coming to us as a last resort because they just haven't been able to find the right blonde hairdresser, and then they absolutely love us. And I think it's the nicheness of my salon and the uniqueness is what has always made us really popular.
Yeah.
It's a little secret. I'm like, I don't think we do anything different from another blonde specialist,
Yeah.
but I think it's just the environment I've created and the exclusivity of the brand is what, makes it so
Draw
successful.
card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's its marketing point. Like, I don't need to do much marketing because the brand itself.
Speaks volumes.
Correct.
Yeah. I was saying earlier actually about people often say to me, and especially when I've worked in partnerships with colour brands, like, oh, what is the biggest trend of 2026? And what's, and I say, well, we don't go with trends. We're the fucking opposite of
I have a
trends.
PR agent and she like keeps asking me every 6 months for the the different. I'm like, hun, like it's the same thing it was 6 months ago. Blonde. Like I don't have trends. Like
Yeah.
I actually like sometimes,
Yeah,
but I
there's
just
tweaks
feel
and
like
stuff, but-
tweaks, like a little bit darker, a little bit more lived in. Like we
Yeah.
are like 50 shades of blonde.
Yeah.
Like that is what we are.
Absolutely.
And I think blonde clients are the most loyal as well.
Yes.
Like they're the die hard. Like some of my clients, like every 6 weeks the past 10 years. I'm just like, it's hard to find those types of clients these days.
What I find in my salon was something that I had to get used to is a lot of my clients aren't necessarily long term. Because we have so many people that travel and they just can't sustain it. So it's not uncommon for people to travel 4 hours to see us or to fly in. I've even had a couple of people recently from different countries that when they're visiting. Yeah, Hong Kong, a couple from America, I think one from Europe. So what happens a lot of the time with my salon is people will come and get that big transformation.
And then go maintain it
And-
elsewhere.
Yeah, or they'll come 1 or 2 goes and they're like, I just can't travel 2 hours every 8 to 12 weeks. So I had to really shift my mindset over
Of course.
that because
Yeah.
I always had a clientele, like men that would come every 3 weeks, clients with grey touch-ups, like all of those things when I first built the foundation of my business from my family rental to this business. I've had to really accept that I can have a higher turnover of clients than what I used to. But then again, we've got our die hard, loyal scalp bleachers and, full foils to the roots, things that other salons don't offer. But that was a huge mindset shift as well, because you'd have these incredible clients and, they just couldn't sustain, I guess, traveling.
I mean, I was going to say it could be your location as well.
Yeah, we're quite a
obviously.
far
Yeah.
out. But also people often say things about like that we're expensive. People often say like that they struggle getting people to book and all of these things. And I say our location is not bougie. If you actually see where we are, we're behind a service station in Cranbourne West. The salon itself is stunning, right? But no one, like people message us knowing that we're going to be expensive. So we've just increased our prices. And I went into the salon coordinator and I said, look, we need to increase our prices. Like it's been a minute and I'm fucking out there teaching my private clients to increase their prices. And she was like, oh, but everyone's already doing it tough. And I'm like, I know, but
hair is also a luxury service.
right. And we have increased our prices and, to book our first appointment with me is minimum $800 at the moment, which is high, especially for where we are. No one bats an eyelid.
Yeah. Well,
No one bats an eyelid. People are like, no, I want the master, like every time. It's a very, very, very small percentage of people that can't afford us.
It's
So people
intentional, I think.
people already know when messaging us that that's going to be their initial appointment cost.
Yeah.
That's not their upkeep.
Of course.
But if they're going to come in and get,
transformation.
the full works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've sort of spoke about that in my education classes. Like people have said, oh, but I'm in here and I'm here. I was like, I was in a fucking garage charging $500 and now I'm in behind a service station. Like it doesn't matter where you are. It is the brand and the perception of how valuable people see your business
And
model is.
because it's something we do every day, blonding, it's something we do no more.
Yeah.
Our skills are better because I feel like when you do something 1,000 times over and over again, you are a specialist.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what sets us apart from most other salons and why people will pay that to see.
And as you said, people at their wit ends when they're coming to us. So many people are coming to me and you and they're like I have just tried and I just can't get past this point. And it's when people are at that point where their problem's not getting solved, they will seek out for a specialist
100%.
and they will pay a higher rate to know that they're going to be getting the results that they want.
100%.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think niching down is so important. I don't think you need to be a blonde specialist. There's so many gaps in the industry and there's so many apprentices that qualify and they're like, I'm a blonde specialist. I'm like,
I don't know if we were going to talk about this, but I got to mention it because it's something that like winds me up. Is the negative side of people, of other salons especially, they look down on our type of hairdressing. I saw a post 2 years ago, it's so triggering to me, from another salon that's local to me that is looking for staff, and in it they wrote,
I haven't experienced this. So.
I don't want any pigeonholed hairdressers. And then in brackets, blonde specialists.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? Like, there's space for everyone in our
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
You know, like what I do different to you, like it's they don't compare. Like I don't understand why anyone like if it's is it a reflection on your business not doing well because you think we're taking all the
She was
clients?
triggering it.
You
Yeah.
know,
She was
like
triggered by
yeah, like I was so triggered by reading that because I'm like,
Mm,
oh my God, like I learned everything as a hairdresser. I
yeah.
worked at Bieber. I worked at this funky place that did
Mm,
funky haircuts and, you know, got taught by these amazing people and chose to do what I do. The
yeah.
staff that work for me choose to do that. They've all qualified. They've all done everything, you know?
Yeah. I don't get much of that. I get a lot of hairdressers commenting on how expensive I am
Yeah.
and that the damage that comes with
Bleaching.
bleaching your hair. But at the end of the day, I bleach is like you are a hairdresser that doesn't want to do it. That's why your clients are coming to me.
Mhm.
But I am very in depth with the clients that sit in my chair on the risks involved in lightener. And what I think is really crazy is if you go and get Botox, if
Mhm.
you go and get
Shine waivers. And
yeah, if you go and get on the Ozempic needle, if you go
Mhm.
and get on the pill, if you go and
anything
get
that you do.
anything,
Yeah.
oh,
comes with
eyelashes,
risks.
do you know what I mean? Comes at risks, but people are forgetting that so does lightener. And if something happens, then what's the difference from you putting on weight on the pill or you know, from you going in and getting your hair lightened and having a reaction? Like, you understand the risks. I'm explaining them in depth when you're in here. And every now and then there's going to be someone's hair that compromises. When I've done marketing and stuff with people, and I probably shouldn't be putting this out there to the public, but they're all like, healthy blondes, healthy blondes, healthy blondes. I said, that's not my motto. My
Mm.
motto is I can get you fucking blonde.
Yeah.
Do I want to do it in a healthy way? Yes. But I give my clients the option. Do you think your hair's strong enough? Would you rather healthy
Be white
hair
or
or have blonde hair? Because you can't always have it both.
Of course.
Very transparent. But there's a lot of hairdressers out there that are constantly trying to shit on that business model. But isn't it just okay that you're doing your thing and I'm doing my thing? And I think
100%.
there's
And
a
I
lot
think
of shame around
it's a
that.
client choice.
Yeah.
I've seen some pretty big influencers online give clients that option. If you want to be this color,
Mm.
well, this
Is your risk.
yeah.
And you know that. I have conversations, I have waiver forms, I have all the
Mhm.
things. You know, I'm not out here pretending that lightener might
No,
not
yeah,
compromise your hair.
Of course.
But I'm like, what's the difference between you going to do this and this? Like, why is there such a blow up if you have a little bit of compromise?
Mhm.
Why is that then, you know,
Yeah.
you're like, what accountability does the client need to take rather than putting it all back on the hairdresser? Yes, it's the hairdresser's responsibility to educate and you know, guide and understand the process. But at the end of the day, I'd be like you, if there is a point where we're going to bleach watch the ends or tip out the ends or, you know, push the hair a little bit further, the
It will
conversation's
dry out.
always had first. And
I always give clients the option. I
Yeah.
feel like I am
that's why
about
they're coming to us,
Yeah.
right? If we didn't do this to
I
them, we
know.
wouldn't have a salon. So it's like
I know.
sometimes I'm like,
so-
I'm just going to fucking be a brunette specialist because there's less stress.
I feel like, yeah, I just tell people no if I'm
Yeah.
not comfortable with doing something. And I feel like my staff as well. Like, I don't want to be responsible for anyone's hair being
Yeah.
damaged. And if someone really wants like base and balayage and we don't think they should, I'm going to say, well, your hair will dry out.
Yeah.
You will get breakage. And, you know, a lot of the time our work, no matter how good we are, no matter how good we do the hair, if the client's then not oiling their hair every day and using the right shampoos and conditioners and treating their hair at home,
Heat
their hair will
protection.
break.
Yeah.
They're like blonde hair will
If
break.
your hair's not breaking in the salon and then 3 months later you go home and there's breakage, how about have a look at the home care routine? What
Correct.
happens? I say, what happens when you put your hand on the straightener
Mhm.
and hold it there? You go to fucking hospital with a burn. What do you think that's doing to your hair?
Yeah, it's pretty
It's not the
wild.
bleach damaging your hair. It's generally the straightener.
Bleach just dries your hair out and breaks down the structure. So
Yep.
what you do at home is so important. And, you know, if people can't commit to an aftercare routine, then their hair will probably break off.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think there's a bit of a
Oh, and that's his
stigma,
stigma,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's tough being a blonde specialist, isn't
It
it?
is. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Having mentioned negative feedback from other salons, can you share any other struggles in your business? Are there any major regrets or lessons when you look back on your time in this
Yeah,
industry?
I think I wish I did sort of business coaching and things like that a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think within the first few years of my business, I had a really large turnover in staff. Like I was a shitty boss. Like that's no doubt about it. Because I had only come from one workplace, I didn't realize this is going to sound so bad, but like I didn't really do lunch breaks. I didn't, everyone was paid minimum wage. I expected everyone to work how I worked, and people were calling me money hungry. And like at the time, I didn't even, it's just how I worked as a hairdresser.
Can I just stop you too?
Yeah.
We fall in as creative people into being business
That's what
owners.
I mean. I didn't mean
We never
to.
set out to do this.
I
and
was
it's
a hairdresser.
right. And
Yeah.
it's learning and navigating through it all, and you really fucking learn who you are
Oh,
at the start.
100%. Oh, I just didn't realize everyone worked like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd worked at Bieber like that. I'd seen my mum work like
That's
that.
how it all used
Yeah,
to be. The
I-
industry's shifted
But
a
I
lot.
worked till 6 p.m. on a Saturday. I didn't have a
Yeah.
lunch break. I didn't blame my bosses. It was, you know, it's
It's
because
just
we're
what you
busy.
did.
Like,
Yeah.
so I switched to that model when I first opened my business. And the first year of business, I had one of my really good staff members leave, and it was not a nice situation. And that sort of continued on for the next few years before I realized, shit, I'm actually the problem here. You know, like you have to have a really hard look at yourself. And from that moment on, I ended up having children, and I softened a lot as a person. And, you know, the past 3 or 4 years, I've spent a lot of work working on myself to be a really good boss.
Yeah.
Because I think I wasn't for a long time. And it wasn't honestly because I'm not a good person. It was because I just didn't know any different.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I'm sure there's
And it's
still-
just navigating it,
yeah,
isn't it?
but you know, in saying that as well, Kasey, like I think even now being the best boss I can be and treating my staff with the same respect that I should be, it still doesn't. That you still have issues.
It's still not going to be for everybody.
know, I
Everyone's not
think
going to always be
That's
for you.
probably the hardest thing in owning a salon is that when staff do leave, sometimes it's in a negative way and it's no fault of your own.
Very personal.
And it's really,
It feels
probably
very
my
personal.
biggest struggle is the emotional side of when people leave.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm doing a whole podcast episode on it next
Yeah,
because it's something that keeps coming up for a lot of people in my coaching space
Oh,
and a lot of
100%.
friends
And it's the
that I chat
only
to.
reason why I'd ever close my business.
Yeah, staff.
Is because I just emotionally, I get upset. I just emotionally can't keep going and like hiring people and, you know, staying for a couple of
Investing
years.
so
I
much
know.
of yourself. It's not money or anything. It's yourself, right? Like you're giving,
Yeah.
you love these people like they're your own.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just
And then the
feels-
hurtful whispers that you hear that they say about you.
Yeah. And I think no matter what I do, no matter how good I am, I'm still always going to be portrayed by these people as a selfish business owner, money hungry, when I'm actually not those things. I'm just trying to run a business.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a hairdresser. I just want to do beautiful hair and have a good team.
And sometimes I sit and think, fuck, I hope one day, 360 moment, that they have a team and hire their first staff and go,
Yeah, it's literally
this was just a business owner surviving and navigating through it all.
Yeah. And it's you know, no matter how much work you do on yourself and everything else that I've done over the years and the great boss that I have become, I can confidently say that now.
Yeah.
You know, I just think it actually doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because once someone leaves and their goal is to work for themselves and usually let all their clients at their salon, at your salon, know, you know, because that's how they're going to start their business, they just turn on you. The staff, you know, and it's just horrible.
You're the bad person.
Yeah. And because I'm trying to protect my brand, something I've, you know, spent 10 years working on.
I recently had one of my very close staff members / girlfriends open up a gym, and she come into me the other day and she's like, it really is true you can't be friends with staff. And I looked at her and I was like, well, you're my friend. But I do think, you know, if she went and opened up a salon instead, would I have lost this friendship? Most probably.
Yeah.
You know, I now have to look at all my stuff and be like, I love you, but there might be a time that you will want to go off on your own and it might not necessarily end well. I have people that I've reached out with in the past and been like, you know, still got connections with to some point, but I've been really hurt.
Yeah. Look, I know all my staff are going to be with me forever and I don't own anyone. I went out on my own. You know, I just think there's right ways and wrong ways. And I have had a staff member that worked for me for 5 years that I loved and she did so well. She looked after my salon and she was leaving. I encouraged her to go work for herself, which she is. And I allowed her to take all her clients because I thought she deserved it. She worked for me for 5 years, you know, looked after my salon while I had kids. So, you know, there are situations like that, but I think it's the ones where you pour everything into.
And it's deceitful.
Yeah.
Which I've had to start looking at it in a way as in, I guess they're scared and just wanting to protect themselves, which I never used to. and
It's I have to
it's not
I
easy to
still
take and
Yeah,
deliver. And you
I
think
know.
you could have still done it better, but then I'm
I
like,
know.
maybe they just didn't know any other way for making me the bad guy
Mhm.
completely, which there would be bits and pieces in there that I probably was the bad guy, that they feel better about what they're
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
which what they're doing is not necessarily the right way of doing it.
Oh, 100%. And, everyone's on their own journey. Everyone deserves to have
It's
their own thing.
my actual motto at the
Yeah,
moment.
I think it's really important for me now to know what my staff want to do and help them reach their goals. And hopefully it's, I can help them get there.
Yeah.
But it's the sly ones that you don't know about. And,
The ones you least expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for sharing all of that with me. It's very,
Heavy.
yeah, we could probably
It's a
talk on that
lot.
through the whole episode, but we won't get through the rest of the questions. But I've gotten very similar feelings and experiences with you for that. Thanks for sharing about your growth as a boss. Speaking of staff satisfaction and retention, I found through conversations of other people who also own businesses, including yourself, that it's a huge concern for small business owners at the moment. And the industry, how the industry is changing. What have you learned about the process of losing these staff? Like, what else can you share on that topic? I'm going to just
I
even
can't even.
talk to that question
Yeah,
with
go.
you. So what I say to everybody now and what I sort of business coach on is the words that you just said, like everyone is on their own journey, and that is probably it's honestly the biggest thing that you can take from it. So
Yeah.
I always like to reflect back on the accountability things that I could have done differently, which there's always going to be something. And I need to really focus on that it's not always a me thing. That sometimes it's a them thing, and it's just their time to go off on their journey. And maybe I didn't necessarily agree with the way that people might have left my world and wished it could be different. But at the end of the day, as you said, like you went off on your journey. I like sometimes I reflect back to my husband and he's like, oh, after everything you've done for them. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But I need to start looking at what about all the things they did for me,
100%.
which is really hard to do at the start.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, it's just for me the transparency at the end of the day. I am really honest with my staff and I just expect the same respect back. And,
Yeah.
I would say most people do that.
And the other ones I feel like can probably just be scared.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have to put it down to that. They must just be scared.
I
And
don't
that's why they're deceitful.
I just think I make things look really easy. Running
Yeah.
a business, no one sees what the hours every night I spend editing content, uploading to TikTok every day, coming up with ideas, paying thousands
I
of
think it's the
dollars for-
illusion of success.
Yeah.
I think.
And like working at my salon, my staff just come to work for their 38 hours a week. I do
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
outside of hours, so that looks
I
easy.
often say, if I actually log my hours that I work, your hourly rate's a lot higher than mine, babe. You may see my nice car, my nice house, but I'm also 38 years old. My husband has a business. I have a second business. Like, this doesn't come from just running a hair salon.
And when
it's
I
lifestyle.
freelance, I've also freelanced. So I feel like when people are like they're gonna go off and freelance, things like that, I'm like, what is it you want out of it?
Yeah.
Because I've done it.
A lot of the time it's the hours and the
Yeah,
money.
the
And you're like, well, none
flexibility.
of that's there at the start. You actually
You have to build yourself,
Yeah.
and in order to build yourself, you've got to do everything. You've got to see
it's
everyone.
60 hours a week. You're
Yeah.
actually on less of a wage than what you are to start with. It just feels like a lot at the start. But if you work
100%.
out your hourly rate,
Yeah.
how much hours you're working, you're not better off, especially if you're in a good salon that pays you okay,
Well above
incentives,
award wages,
education,
everything.
holiday sick pay,
Yeah.
all the bells and whistles. How is the way that you now process the loss of staff leaving? How has that now changed?
Yeah, I just I haven't really probably processed.
Yeah.
I feel like last year
Each individual one's hard. Yeah, you
it's always
experience
different. It's always very different. Last year was probably one of the hardest years in business emotionally for
And
me.
this is when we connected a bit, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm not even sure, to be honest.
Yeah,
I
it
feel
is.
like 2025, within a 7-month period, I had 3 very close family members or people in my life die, like
Yeah.
really suddenly. And then last year as well was like the biggest year I've had in business. We clocked $1 million in revenue and like all this-
Congratulations.
thank you, all this amazing stuff whilst navigating the loss of a staff, not the loss of a staff member.
Yeah, the loss of some family members. Yeah.
And during that time when I was probably messaging you, I had a staff turnover.
Yeah.
So I haven't really processed. My motto is I just move on. I can't fret about this stuff. It
Yeah.
is what it is. And
We
I'm
spoke quite
oh,
closely about the changing industry and what that looked like for us in the next couple of years. And is this
yeah.
the journey that we still
I
wanted to be on?
So actually in December and January of this year, I'll admit no one really knows this, but I was like, I'm closing the business. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm done. I'm done. I want to open a home salon. This
Yeah.
is literally where my head was at.
I've honestly said
Yeah.
the same things with my husband.
like,
They go, oh, she's looking great.
Yeah.
Remember those stress-free days?
Right. And I
Yeah.
was doing that because I thought that was my easy way out. I could just
Mm.
work at home, do a few clients a week, be more present with my children. But I then quickly realized that I am such a driven and passionate person, and I love hair and I love teaching, that was just my scapegoat.
Yeah.
Um,
For a few hard months.
yeah, I feel like it's not, I'm so driven and ready for 2026. I feel like emotionally I'm so much
Well,
better.
what was
So-
it? Year of the snake? They
Oh,
shed,
I
and
don't
now
know.
it's Year of the
Last year
horse.
was hectic.
Mm.
There was a lot. Whilst also being the best year of business I've had
Yeah.
since having Blonde Army. So it's like
Just crazy, right?
Yeah,
Financially, the
I
best
know.
year, but emotionally,
the toughest year,
Yeah.
definitely.
yeah. I think especially with staff leaving so often at the moment, it's important to be intentional throughout the hiring process to try and avoid fast employment turnovers. I actually know that you sponsored one of your girls. We've spoken about
I
that.
still
I'd really
sponsor
love to touch base
her.
on that. I think
Yeah.
that's something really cool that you don't hear much in the industry. And I think it'd be really cool to share with everybody listening what that sort of looks like. I get inboxes daily on sponsoring and I'm like, ew, too hard.
Look, it is really quite expensive, but when you think of a salon that makes over $1 million in a financial year, $30,000 or $40,000 it's cost me is small in the scheme of things. So, I sponsor Liv, my salon manager, who is also like my other person.
Yeah.
She is my go-to for everything. She's amazing.
And where's she from?
The UK.
Yeah.
So she's English. So she actually, when she moved to Australia, she's like, I'm not doing hairdressing. I'm going to do nannying. So she was nannying, and then she's like, I love it here. I want to stay. So she knew the path to actually remain in Australia was to get sponsorship through hairdressing. So she came to me, hey, I'd love to work for you. I'm looking for sponsorship. And I'm always open to staff who want to be involved in my cult, so I'm like really whatever I can do to keep them. And so we got a lawyer and figured out the process. It's been a couple of years now and probably like 10, 15 grand personally.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit more with all the lawyer fees and everything.
Yeah.
But she has just applied for her permanent residency 2 years after we got approved for her sponsorship, and hopefully that will be approved by December, which means then she sort of comes off the sponsorship and she's got permanent residency. So
Okay.
it's been like a 3-year thing.
And what does that look like for you?
Liv doesn't 100% know what she wants to do. She doesn't love. She's an amazing hairdresser, and it actually makes me really sad to know that her heart isn't in it as much as I want it to be.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what she wants to do. So she will continue hairdressing, but she like talked about opening up something out in the country or,
I was going to say, as soon as those certificates hit her hand,
does
it feel a little bit unknown for you?
It does, definitely. And that's probably part of the reason why at the start of the year I was like, I'm going to open a garage salon, because I was like, I knew I'm actually going to be leaving losing this year possibly 2 of my most senior staff members. But look, I haven't lost sleep over it yet. I know it's coming, but I'm preparing. I'm actually looking at interviewing someone over the next couple of weeks.
And we are now also thankful for the time that they've had with us, right? Rather than going, I did this, I paid for that, I did
feel
this.
it's different.
We've had to shift.
And I think, 100%, like what Liv has done for me in the last 3 years of business, I wouldn't have been able to achieve the things that I've been able to achieve. All the amazing things we did last year. She was right by my side. She flew with me.
Look,
to
I'm
Sydney,
getting
to
goosebumps.
Brisbane.
And I think
I know.
that people that are listening and that are at home, as you said, money hungry, this, that, this, they don't actually realize I'm actually so fucking appreciative of this human.
100%.
Like, I wouldn't have been able to do this without them. And, this is how I feel about them on a much more deeper level than just their boss. And I think it's really beautiful, as I said, goosebumps. Listening to you talk about that. Is it going to be hard when they leave?
100%.
Absolutely. Am I going to take it personal and think I did this and this and this, like what we would have done 5 years ago? No, because we've done the work, we've shifted ourselves, and we're thankful for the time we've
And
had
look,
with
they
them.
respect me so
Yeah.
much as a person, as a mum, as a boss. So I think that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
I know that where their head's at, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, the
Blood
conversations
Army
are
will
there.
go on. I will find stuff. I've been in this position every couple of years.
I've had people say to other staff members, "Oh, this place wouldn't survive without me.
Mate,
What will
I
she
am
do
this
if I?
place."
Should I do if I leave? Oh, Casey, I'm worried if I leave. Like, what will you do, babe? This place was fucking killing it before you were here, and it'll be killing it long after you go.
100%. And at the end of the day, Blonde Army is me. It's
Yep.
my skills. It's
Your brand, everything you've built.
and what the girls do are my techniques.
Yeah.
So that is never something that would enter my mind, because I know that I've had no staff before. I've had 10 staff, I feel like whatever, I just keep pushing on.
And be grateful for what time we've had with
100%.
each person. How did you know you wanted to sponsor her initially? So you've said that
Oh, you're going to laugh.
she walked in. Like,
She didn't
walked in
walk
off
in.
the
We had
street.
a Facebook conversation.
Oh.
where we live.
Yeah.
And she had already known about us from someone else or something. And I met, I think I have like ADD, or I have some like impulse control. Like there's something going on.
I think it's a hairdressing trait.
I met her and I hired her that day, and I was like, yeah, we'll do sponsorship. I had no idea what the hell it was.
Oh my God.
But I met her and I was like, oh my God, I love you.
Yeah.
Like, she was so funny. We just got along. To me, always connection and personality is so important. Like, over the years, I've hired staff based on personality, not really skill. I teach it, as I have taught every single person that has worked in my salon, how to do everything. So I don't even look for skills. Like, as long as you can put a foil
That's
in
my
it,
motto too.
yeah, I can teach you the rest.
It's got to align with the rest of the salon.
Well, team culture to me is so important.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years, it just reminded me, actually, that's what you were asking me before, and I didn't even realize it's been blocked out. But I've had some really toxic, hectic situations with staff in the salon, and they were in for like 3 months. It was like bad, and I got rid of them.
Yeah.
I was like, nah. Oh my God, absolutely.
Need to protect that energy.
Yeah. Whereas years ago, I would have probably kept them.
Yeah, so I've let it go on too long because I felt bad. And I'm a helper. I like when I help people. I want to be
felt
like,
bad for myself.
Yeah.
Those situations, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, they put me in tears. Like, I know I almost cried before, but
yeah, of course.
I feel like it was
shouldn't be going home
hectic.
from your own business in tears.
Yeah. So to me, culture is so important, and having the right people that fit into our team.
And I hear the word toxic a lot, and I was actually watching a movie the other night, and she was like, toxic, everything's toxic now. And I think it's really funny because it is a word that gets used a lot right now. But I think we need to start rewording it, not your necessarily case, but in the sense of like, isn't it just okay that they're not the right fit?
100%. 100%.
Like, we're not the right fit for everybody. Just because you're coming to someone's workplace.
Toxic workplace.
Everyone sits in my chair like, oh, like, why are you looking for a new job? Oh, my workplace is toxic. I don't want to hire you.
Yeah.
Because there's no accountability in that word toxic for me.
I know. Like, what makes it toxic?
Right?
It is wild.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just because they're not my people.
And I have had some lovely staff work for me over the last couple of years that have only lasted 3 or 4 months. And we both agreed it's not the right fit.
Yeah.
And there's no bad blood. One of the girls I really like, and I keep bumping into her. I'm like, oh, I wish it worked. And it was just that she didn't love doing what we did.
Yeah.
She had been hairdressing for a long time, and she was like, I just don't think
might
I
be
can
misalignment.
adjust. Yeah, I just don't think I can adjust because, and I'm like, that's fine, babe. Like, I don't want to waste your time. Let's call it a day. Yeah. And there's no bad blood. Like, it's fine. Not everyone aligns with you.
Yeah, I think
that's
a big shift.
Not everyone has to like you.
No.
I am such a crazy, outgoing, outspoken person. I don't care if you don't like me, babe. Don't work in my salon. Like, this is my salon. I'll run it how I like. Like, you don't have to like it here. Don't work here if you're not happy.
Shouldn't have to be apologizing for being who you are in your space.
100%.
If you feel like you are triggered by someone or something like that, you can move on and find a space that's better suited for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that space is toxic or bad or anything like that. It's just we're not the right fit.
100%.
Yeah, which is always going to happen. So how did you know you wanted to sponsor Liv?
Yeah, just personality.
So just literally,
I was like, I
I
love
like
you.
you,
I
I
love
want
you.
you,
Yeah.
add to cart.
Yeah. And, I am a very generous person.
Yeah.
I love doing things for
Yeah.
people and I love
Giving.
giving. Like, it's probably one of my
It's
biggest
your love
joys.
language.
Yep. Definitely giving is my love language. And that I knew how life-changing that would be for Liv. Like, that is going to
Yeah.
change her life.
Fully accepted into another country.
Yeah.
Wowie.
And that is not something a lot of salons do offer or can offer. And I knew
I think it's just a very big, confusing process.
It is. It is
A little
definitely
bit scary.
Yeah, I mean, I signed a lot of things that I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm signing.
Yeah.
And like that, so I was like, Liv's like, it's fine. I'm just like, So we just winged it. We just had an immigration lawyer.
And
that,
you've had
you
3
know-
years together, right? So it's
Oh,
paid off.
I know. If
tenfold.
I could keep her forever,
Yeah.
like I've always this year, I'm like, I'm even going to think of a role that's not hairdressing for her.
Yeah, just
I-
because he loved her so much.
I'm like, I don't know what it's going to be, but
Yeah.
she's honestly the brightest
She
person
makes
to be
you. She
around.
obviously makes everything feel easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. When
She's
days
just
feels
funny.
hard.
Like,
Yeah.
you find your person.
Yeah.
She's like my person.
Oh, well, I hope you get to hold on to her, whatever
do.
that looks like. You said you didn't realize at first how expensive it was. When you realized this expense, did you then start freaking out?
No, I didn't at all because I had the money in the business to be able to afford it.
Yeah.
And I sort of knew we like chat GPT'd it and stuff and got like an idea. So I knew already
What you're going to be up for.
Yeah, and it wasn't upfront. I felt like it has been increments over periods of time. And the last payment I think was just last year in November, and it was like $6,000.
Yeah.
And that was my final.
You'd already had it
payment.
put aside.
Yeah, I had been saving for it because I knew I didn't want it to affect the business financially in a negative way.
Yeah. What is the biggest lesson that you've gained from the whole experience?
With Liv?
Yeah, with the
That it's
sponsorship.
fucking
I just thought it was
worth
such a cool conversation to have on the podcast. I'm not sure whether you thought this
No,
was going to be
go,
something
go.
mentioned,
Oh,
but when
no.
me and Alicia sat down to talk about the questions and stuff, she goes, "What do I need to know?" And I said, I think it's really fucking
Yeah.
cool that she sponsored somebody, and it's not
Literally.
a conversation that's had often. And for someone myself that gets inboxes often,
Yeah.
like the whole thing just feels too hard and scary for me. So I park it. So I'm very like,
Well,
I think it's
just a
very
great.
admirable.
I mean, it's an amazing thing to be able to offer someone.
Mhm.
It's life-changing for
Yeah.
people to become an Australian citizen.
Yeah.
Like, we take it for granted being Aussies, and with what's going on around the world at the moment, it's like even more so how grateful people would be to actually have citizenship in Australia. And we don't understand. I don't understand that because why would I want to live anywhere else?
Yeah.
You know,
Because it's just the
just
norm
the
for us.
opportunity we have here and being able to give that to someone is.
At such a, like, it feels like a financial stretch, but as you've just mentioned, it's been the small investment for the return.
We wouldn't have made $1 million if I didn't have Liv. I wouldn't have gone and educated. I wouldn't have entered in and became a finalist in all these awards if I didn't have her on
Driving that.
I would have done them, but in my own time. I had Liv being like, no, let's do this. Let's do that. You can do this. Look at this. She's even got Blonde Army tattooed on her. Actually, a lot of my staff do.
Oh, that's pretty cool, Shavy. Oh, I
We
love
have
this.
Blonde Army. It was actually before we had the name change, but yeah. So I feel like, as I said,
So you got the
before-
tattoo and then you rebranded. Yeah.
because there's a few ex-staff members that have it too.
Well, that's
It's funny.
hopefully
But look, it's such
they left in a good way.
such a cult-like type of niche thing.
Yeah.
And that's how we act.
Tell us
I feel
tell us
like-
more about the tattoo. How did you get it? Where did
Because
come
it
from?
means a lot.
Like,
to
were you all
each
drinking?
person. No, we were sober.
You were like, let's
No,
just go get a group tattoo.
Like Blonde Army, it's not just a hair salon.
Yeah.
It's
It's a cult.
a cult. I live and breathe hairdressing.
Mm.
I fucking love doing hair and I love the client experience, and that's what has made me so successful, and I feel like I just breathe that with my staff, and it's so important that they feel and love it as much as I do.
I know if someone comes into your workplace and they just haven't got that passion,
Oh,
it just feels off, doesn't it?
Well, I just can't be around it 'cause
Yeah.
it just brings me down. Like, I don't expect everyone to love it as much as I do. I
Mm.
get that, and I think it's over the years that I've loved it.
Mm.
I feel like since having kids and things like that, I've loved it more.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, pre-babies, I don't think I was passionate, but I'm even more so
Yeah.
now. So I think the tattoo means something to everyone. It's a pivotal something moment in their career where they've really like honed down and becoming a blonde specialist and
Working for such an iconic brand.
iconic. That's for
Love it.
sure.
I can imagine that you've learned a lot about trust, investment, risk taking, and trying new things. Are there any major lessons that you would like to share with someone who has had an opportunity to sponsor someone?
Yeah. No, it's all gone very smoothly. Liv being my manager, there's definitely, I think you have to be aware that there's a minimum wage that you have to pay, and I think it's about $84,000 or $85,000 a year,
Which works out to what?
maybe $38, $39 per hour.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe even a bit more. It lives on quite a bit, so it's a bit hard to.
Yeah.
I don't actually know,
Which is
because
why
she's-
it's good because it's going into
Yes.
management. Yeah.
you'd only invest in this person if they were an
Epic.
Olivia in your business.
Yeah,
You know, like Liv, I trained in my techniques while I had just given birth to my son Zephyr, and I was at the salon with him in a
Yeah.
carrier, training her for 4 weeks on all my techniques, and she smashed it.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like if it wasn't an Olivia,
It's not worth it.
no, it's not worth it. You know, she looks after my salon. I only work 3 days, a few hours a day. Like
Yeah.
she looks after the girls and helps. We're like a big team.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's her baby too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
She loves the brand. She doesn't love doing hair, but she loves the brand, and she loves this girl culture and this safe space for women that we've created.
Yeah. I work there. I love it. No, it's not. It's beautiful. It's everything that I'm built on building and all the things. Yeah.
100%. It's, you know, it
I
comes
call it
from
a
within.
sisterhood. You call it an army.
100%. I call it an army.
Yeah. I love Kotler. Okay, so pivoting a little bit here, what have all these experiences and lessons about staff taught you about yourself?
Yeah.
A lot. A
A
fucking lot.
lot. Well, I was in Nile for the first few years. It taught me that, oh shit, maybe I'm not a good boss. And, you know, like if those
And does it
things-
reflect back to you then you play into the, oh, maybe I'm not a good person? Because that come up to me sometimes.
Yeah,
Which was hard.
100%.
So I knew at my core I was, but then it
yeah,
made me question who I
I
was.
definitely questioned who I was, and that's where I sort of had that big change in my salon and the culture change, because I realized that I wasn't
Is
treated.
it through business coaching?
Yeah,
Yeah.
through business coaching.
People do not understand the power
Yeah.
of a good business and
Yeah,
mindset.
and just getting older. Once I became a
mature.
mum, I like chilled. Like I was hectic. Like
Mm.
now, once I became a mum, the things that I cared about, then I stopped caring about.
Yeah.
It became a lot more nurturing, a lot more motherly, and
Yeah.
you know, I lacked.
Softens.
Yeah, I lacked empathy. So
Yeah.
I feel like just in that experience, I grew. I was also really young when I opened Blonde Army. I was 25 or 26
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
old.
you
So
kid.
you know, so it was a lot. So as I've aged, but Is that what your question was?
What was the question? No, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
it's perfect. Owning a business and being a boss are both very vulnerable, as we both know, and they force you to reflect on the best and worst parts of yourself. So that's why it's so interesting to talk about what you've learnt. This podcast is all about going beyond the name and the identity that audiences attach to you after seeing you online. Really letting people see the real business owner. I really want you to share with us something that people who have been watching you from afar, Madeline, Blonde Army, all the things, can you share something with us on the podcast that's something that someone wouldn't know about you? Something maybe on a deeper level.
Yeah. Do you have tissues?
Yeah, I might have toilet paper.
Yeah. I think last year was a really perfect example. I achieved so many amazing things in my business. Went to Sydney and educated at Hair Festival. We
Epic.
Yeah, literally. I held
awards.
content days.
Yeah.
I was nominated
Yeah, that
for
was
like
fun.
7 different awards
Yeah.
across 2 different things. Like there's so many
Your
positive.
first biggest financial year.
100%. My daughter started prep last
Yeah.
year. My husband started his business last year. He's a roof plumber. And they were all these massive changes. And within all that, we lost 3 people very close
Yep.
to us. One being my neighbor, who's the godfather of my son, who died of glioblastoma brain tumor. And you know,
Yep.
from the moment he was diagnosed to death was 3 months. It was fucking hectic. It was probably the most horrific thing I've ever experienced. But during all that, I still had to go to work.
Yeah.
I was flying to Sydney and like, literally, I'd gone to his funeral, which I definitely have some trauma from all this because it was like wild.
Yeah, probably haven't processed it
No, and
at
then the
all.
next day I had booked a $2,000 photo shoot for the salon for a
Oh,
team shoot, and I had to go.
yeah,
I
and
couldn't
look good and be
cancel.
happy.
100%. So last year, not many people knew what was going on in my personal life
Mm.
because although I'm so open, I like to be a bit more surface level. I feel embarrassed about talking about trauma and all this stuff. So I think
Because you're just like, no, I'm good.
yeah, and
Yeah.
because that's just my personality. But I am deeper than that. I don't want to burden people with all these horrible things that happened last year. So yeah, that's probably here and there.
Yeah, multi-levels of death
Yeah,
is,
I just think like as a business owner, all business owners, you have to just go on, and you don't really have a choice, right? I'm looking after all this
yeah.
stuff, like
I remember I didn't have staff or anything, but years ago, my pop passed away from cancer, and it was a very similar experience to my dad, which I'd lost really early days. But at this time, I had a business, and I had these two regular clients that had been to me forever, and they were going to Europe. And then I had this other client. I don't even remember who she was, but somehow I got a phone call saying, like, your grandfather's about to pass away.
yeah.
I was staying in there with my grandfather. Like, he walked me down the aisle. He was like my dad. He lived with my mum, so we spent a lot of time with him. My kids spent a lot of time with him. He was my kid's grandfather because my dad wasn't there. So I was staying in there overnight. I was taking care of him. And this one day I went to work, and like these girls, I was like, oh, I just got a phone call saying I've got to come in. He's going to die. And they're like, well, we're going to Europe the next day. You need to do my hair. And well, of course I had to do their hair, right?
Oh,
I
you
couldn't
did
send them
it.
off to Europe without the hair. And then I had this other girl, and she was going overseas too. So I did her hair. Then she had the nerve to say to me, well, you're going to cut my hair, aren't you? And I was like, are you actually fucking serious? You're lucky I'm even in here doing your color, right? And just that moment right there was just mind-blowing to me that my world couldn't stop because I had something going on. And it's the same when I am navigating through things in my personal life and now being a business coach. Sometimes I could be having the worst day at home. I could be navigating through mental health, very far in between these days. And then I have someone plug in and tell me about something that they're navigating through, and I have to hold them in that.
100%.
Or, I'm having something go on at home, and then I've got to walk in to work, and I do have a good support there. So I do sometimes emotionally dump or express what's going on. But it's the moments when I'm silent that is a real issue, and you've got to turn up and you've got to be all these person. You've got to support your clients. You've got to be a great boss. You've got to smile. You've got to look pretty. You've got to hold all this space, and then also come home and mum, right? And wife
and everything else.
and all the other things. And it is, it is the most difficult
Yeah,
thing.
I feel like 2025 almost broke me completely, and it was just horrible to, oh my God.
Mhm.
It was horrible to experience with all these highs and so many lows.
Yeah.
And, I probably do need to see someone.
It was a huge roller coaster for you.
Yeah, all about the death trauma I
Yeah.
experienced last year. It's not something I had ever experienced. So
Yeah, especially if it's something new. I often think when my dad passed away when I was younger, I just quit everything, locked myself in the room for months. I would not be able to do that right now.
no,
Like,
I
if
know,
someone
I
close
know,
to me
that's
died,
wild, right?
unless it was literally my children, I'll just have to get up and go to work
Yeah.
next week, because what else would I do?
And that's
Go
what-
bankrupt?
Yeah, no, I know. That's
Like,
what last
you
year
know,
was. I know.
I've got loans, I've got staff, I've
Yeah.
got,
You
yeah.
don't have a choice but to go on.
yeah.
It's very tough.
And I don't have a live at the moment in my business. So I
No.
literally would have to, like, Chloe is, but Chloe doesn't do hair.
This is the thing,
Yeah.
right? That's why I feel like without I have the most beautiful staff, and without them last year, I wouldn't have been able to go through what I went through. But also had people leave, which also contributed to the
shook you.
stress.
Yeah.
So just a shit year. I'm just excited for this.
Good year, but a shit year.
Yeah.
Was there one quote that you live by, or something that you told yourself to get through all of those hard times? Is there something that you could,
Yeah.
that you tell yourself?
Just get on with it.
Yeah.
I'm a very get on with it person. I
Mm.
try not to dwell about the bad things. I'm a glass half full
Yeah.
person in most things in life. And in all of those situations, I was also like that. So
Yeah.
I'll forever be a motivator and continue on, because if I stop, I might not ever get up again.
Yeah.
And like, I guess
Mm.
some people would see that as a negative, but I've been doing it for 35
Yeah.
years and I'm fine.
If I
So.
stop, I might break. So
Yeah,
I just
I'm
got
like,
to
I
keep
just keep
chugging.
going. I keep, looking forward to new things and doing things
Focus
to,
on the
yeah.
good. Yeah. Having learned so much about yourself and what's important to you, you've probably been able to find a clear insight on what you want to do in your business in 2026, which is super, super powerful. Because on my retreat and in my coaching world, we spend a lot of time intentional goal setting
Mhm.
and future mapping what we want to work towards. It's something that I really love in my coaching space and on my retreat. And it's something that I ask every guest when they come on my podcast. What is your biggest goal moving forward for 2026? What's on your vision board for Madeline and Blondie?
Yeah, so I'm actually going
More tattoos.
No, I'm covered. They're everywhere.
I mean,
They're
Blondie Army
everywhere.
ones.
Requirement
of joining.
Literally, I'll make them people get tattooed. Yeah, everyone
contract.
now needs to have one. No, I'm going to China in
Yep.
6 weeks to go learn.
I actually did see this.
Here's a manufacturer.
But someone else was in my salon doing it with you. Yes, there is.
Is there yeah?
From Lauren from Self.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't even know that. I'm going.
I don't know if she's doing it with you.
Oh,
The same, just on the same process.
I want to learn where hair comes
Yeah.
from. Like, I don't even do that much extensions.
Yeah.
Just anything I do, I want to know everything about.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be so cool. So I'm doing that, and I want to educate. Last year, I dabbled in it.
Yeah.
I ran a really
Because
cool.
you parked it, you were educating, and then you parked it, and you've come back to it, haven't
Too
you?
much last year
Yeah.
with everything that went on. It was too much pressure.
Yeah.
I had to like take.
It is a hard space to dabble in at the moment too.
It is. So
Yeah.
I just thought, you know what, I'm going to focus on building more of an education online presence because
Yeah.
I don't really have that.
Yeah, I can see you've shifted a little bit
I've
on your
shifted.
socials with
Yeah,
that.
more on TikTok. I'm still trying to figure out Instagram.
Yeah.
But really on TikTok, just trying to gain the respect from other hairdressers as an educator before I even think about running any more masterclasses. So that's what 2026 is about, is growing
Building an
my
online personal
social
brand.
presence.
Yeah, I love that, which I'm all about. I'm focusing
Yes.
so much energy on that myself
yours
now.
has been really inspiring because I feel like I've also seen you go from this to this.
Yeah.
So I feel like
I was at 17,000 at the start of
This is what
last
I
year,
mean.
and I'm 56. And my TikTok, I've only just started posting, and I think I grew 200 followers overnight. I'm growing on Instagram, 100 to 200 followers
it's
a day.
amazing. It's so
It's
inspiring. Even like
fucking
when I see your,
exhausting,
when
though.
I see your like business coaching stuff,
Yeah.
it's that fucking good that it
Yeah.
makes me want to do
Yeah,
it. I'm
yeah.
like, it's
Yeah.
working. Whatever you're doing is working.
That's
you know,
nice
you're
to know.
making me want to join.
That's
like-
nice to know. Good. Thank you.
You know, so but that is it's
Yeah.
intentional. Like
Yeah.
all I have to do is log on to my fucking phone. Kasey Lee.
Yeah.
Okay, da, da, da.
Okay, good.
But that's
And when your
what
face.
100%. That is the intentional marketing. That's so important.
I set my vision on my vision board and
Mhm.
everything. Yeah, I went full stand
Yeah.
ahead on that last year. And the opportunities it's opening up for me already is
100%.
crazy. And I know I set my Instagram to be at 65 followers, and I'm going to,
65.
by the end of 65,000,
Yeah.
by the end of the year, and I'm going to smash that easily.
There you go.
If I,
Continue on.
continue. And
Yeah.
as I said, the TikTok, I didn't even post ever, and I will roll over to 10,000 followers in the next couple of weeks. And I've only started posting in there properly, for a couple of months. So
100%. So
it's hard work.
it is hard. I feel like,
I've really understood my
target market.
I've really understood my method though, so I can share it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm really excited for.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Being able to teach other people
Yeah.
how to do it when you're actually doing it
Yeah.
yourself is so powerful.
Because so many people teach it and they don't actually have a platform, and it's like
it
you've got
doesn't make any sense to me.
you're teaching
right?
it, but you don't really
Yeah.
have that platform, so it's really
Yeah.
weird.
And that's a bit like me with hairdressing.
Yeah.
Like I could never come off the floor
Yeah.
because I have to practice.
Well,
what
I
preach.
did, and then I was like, well, hang on a minute, I need to be back on the floor creating content.
Content.
So I had that gap for a bit.
Yeah. Oh, it's
And I'm
boring off
back.
the floor. I don't know how people want to be off the floor.
I do love people too much. I do love people too
I
much.
love clients. I love doing hair.
Me too. So just finishing up, I really like having guests offer some advice before they leave, what they've learned over their years in the industry as business owners and all of those things. I've curated obviously your question list, but I'd love to know a main piece of advice for something that you could share with everybody out there listening, our audience. We are on Spotify, we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, TikTok. We're popping these episodes out
Yeah.
everywhere. What's some sort of advice you can give to someone listening at home?
Yes, especially for more hairdressers. I don't think hairdressing is just a job. It is really something that we love and we do because we're so passionate about it. I think it's important in any industry to find your niche.
Yeah.
and excel on that.
Yeah.
I think niching down and specializing in something is where it's at, and people are always going to find you if you're that. If you do everything, that's fine as well. Like, you can, like, there's no point, there's no harm or
Yeah.
shame in anyone that does everything. But I think you'll get
Learn what you're
real,
good at.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think you'll get real success at focusing on one thing.
I think marketing.
Marketing. Oh,
That niche.
100%. Yeah. And it makes it really unique, and it makes you a real specialist and, you know, the top of your field.
And that's how we've created Blonde Army.
Correct. Oh, it was unintentional, and it turned intentional over the years. You know, I just did what I loved,
Yeah.
and the rest just followed.
Yeah. So for anybody listening at home, are you able to tell us where they can find you?
Yeah, so on TikTok, it's madeline.blondearmy, and on Instagram, it's blondearmy_ or madeline.blondearmy.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for
Thank
traveling.
you.
Appreciate you. You're a babe.
Oh, I'm
Love
very
that.
emotional today.
It's